Imagine a $350 billion retail empire that actively refuses to maximize profits. A company that Wall Street analysts begged to change, but its founders completely ignored. From an untouchable $1.50 hot dog combo to a private label brand that generates more revenue than Nike, the Sinegal and Brotman families engineered a retail fortress. They built a cult-like ecosystem that defies every modern corporate rule. This is the story of Costco, the silent behemoth that beat Amazon, broke the supply chain, and made itself completely untouchable. Chapter 1. The Anti-Wall Street Origin. To understand the sheer, terrifying power of the Costco empire, you must first understand the man who wrote the blueprint. Jim Sinegal wasn't born into East Coast aristocracy. He didn't have a Harvard MBA. In 1954, he was an 18-year-old kid bagging groceries at a discount store called FedMart. But FedMart wasn't just any store, it was run by Saul Price, the godfather of the warehouse club model. Saul Price was a retail militant. He believed in stripping away every single layer of retail fluff. No window displays, no commissioned salespeople, no fancy advertising, just raw, unadulterated volume. Sinegal internalized this philosophy like a religion. When he co-founded Costco in 1983 with Jeffrey Brotman, a Seattle attorney with a brilliant mind for real estate, they didn't just want to build a supermarket, they wanted to build an impenetrable fortress of value. And to do that, they established a rule that would eventually make them the most hated men on Wall Street: the margin cap. In traditional retail, the name of the game is markup. If a department store buys a shirt for $10, they sell it for $50. They rely on high margins to cover their massive overhead, their advertising budgets, and their executive bonuses. Jim Sinegal looked at that model and decided to burn it to the ground. He instituted a strict, non-negotiable rule. No branded item in a Costco warehouse would ever be marked up more than 14%. If it was a private label item, the cap was 15%. This wasn't just a pricing strategy, it was an act of corporate rebellion. By capping their own profits, Sinegal and Brotman effectively guaranteed that no competitor could ever sustainably undercut them. If Walmart or Target tried to match Costco's prices, they would bleed cash. Costco had weaponized low margins, turning what is normally a weakness into an impenetrable moat. But why does this matter for the people at the top? Because the Sinegal and Brotman families realized early on that true power isn't about squeezing every last cent out of a single transaction. True power is about volume and velocity. By capping the margin, they ensured that inventory moved at lightning speed. Before the suppliers even needed to be paid, Costco had already sold the goods, collected the cash, and earned interest on it. They created a negative working capital model that allowed them to fund their own massive expansion without bowing to the predatory lending terms of major investment banks. Chapter 2. The Toll Booth of the Middle Class. If Costco isn't making money on massive markups, how did they build a company currently valued at hundreds of billions of dollars? The answer lies in one of the most brilliant psychological operations in modern economic history: the membership card. Costco is not a store. It is an exclusive gated community. When you pay that $60 or $120 annual fee, you aren't just buying the right to shop, you are paying a toll to enter a protected economic zone. And the numbers are staggering. Costco boasts nearly 137 million cardholders globally. The renewal rate? A jaw-dropping 90%. People are more loyal to their Costco membership than they are to their cable companies, their gyms, or even their banks. This is where the financial genius of the Sinegal empire becomes terrifyingly clear. In 2024, Costco generated an estimated $4.8 billion entirely from membership fees. That money is pure, unadulterated profit. It falls straight to the bottom line. It covers virtually all of their operating expenses. The actual selling of the goods, the massive pallets of toilet paper, the giant televisions, the rotisserie chickens, is essentially a break-even operation designed solely to keep you renewing that card. This model completely insulates Costco from the volatility of the retail sector. If consumer spending dips, or if inflation skyrockets, traditional retailers panic because their margins collapse. Costco doesn't panic. because long before you even put a single item into your oversized shopping cart, you have already handed them their profit for the year. But the membership fee does something else. It creates a psychological phenomenon known as the sunk cost fallacy. Because consumers have paid to enter, they feel an overwhelming subconscious need to justify that expense. They don't just go to Costco to buy milk. They go to Costco to get their money's worth. This drives massive basket sizes. You walk in for a pack of batteries and walk out with a kayak, a 3-pound tub of mixed nuts, and a paddleboard. The Sinegal and Brotman families realize that if you charge an admission fee, you don't have to sell to the consumer. The consumer convinces themselves to buy. It is a psychological masterstroke that completely removed the need for traditional marketing. Costco spends effectively $0 on advertising. They don't need commercials because the membership card in your wallet is a constant physical reminder of your allegiance to their empire. Chapter 3. The Wall Street Wars. To understand the true resilience of this dynasty, you have to look at their greatest enemy. For over 2 decades, Wall Street analysts absolutely despised Jim Sinegal. In the early 2000s, as companies like Walmart and Amazon were ruthlessly optimizing their supply chains and squeezing their labor forces to satisfy the quarterly earnings demands of hedge funds, Costco stood defiant. Financial analysts would relentlessly attack the company on earnings calls. They accused Sinegal of being overly generous. They argued that he was leaving billions of dollars on the table by refusing to raise markups. They demanded that Costco cut employee wages and benefits to increase shareholder dividends. One prominent Wall Street analyst famously complained, "It's better to be an employee or a customer than a shareholder at Costco." Most CEOs would have caved. The pressure from institutional investors can be suffocating, and the threat of an activist takeover is a constant nightmare for any publicly traded company. But Jim Sinegal held the line. He responded with a chillingly simple philosophy: "We pay our workers well because it's good business." Sinegal understood a structural truth that the suits in Manhattan couldn't comprehend. He knew that retail is a high-attrition, low-loyalty business. By intentionally ignoring Wall Street's demands, he was actually building a long-term economic fortress. He famously stated that Wall Street is in the business of making money between now and next Tuesday, but Costco is in the business of building an institution that will last 50 years. This was the ultimate power move. By flat-out refusing to play the quarterly earnings game, Sinegal established total dominance over the company's culture. He signaled to the market that the founders, not the financiers, were in control. Over time, the results spoke for themselves. While competitors faced massive labor strikes, crippling turnover, and public relations disasters, Costco quietly compounded its growth. Eventually, the stock price skyrocketed. Wall Street had no choice but to surrender. They had to accept that the Sinegal method, taking care of the customer and the employee first, was actually the most profitable, resilient business model in the sector. They didn't just beat Wall Street, they forced Wall Street to bend the knee to a former grocery bagger from San Diego. Chapter 4. The Blood Pact of the $1.50 hot dog. If there is one single item that defines the sheer, stubborn will of the Costco empire, it is the $1.50 hot dog and soda combo. It is not just a menu item, it is a corporate artifact. It is the ultimate symbol of their refusal to compromise. The price of the hot dog combo was set at $1.50 in 1985. Through decades of inflation, through multiple stock market crashes, through global supply chain collapses, and through a devastating pandemic, that price has never changed. The story behind this frozen price tag is legendary within corporate circles. Years ago, as the cost of meat and labor continued to rise, Costco's then-president Craig Jelinek approached Jim Sinegal. Jelinek laid out the financial reality. The company was losing massive amounts of money on the food court. He told Sinegal, "Jim, we can't sell this hot dog for $1.50. We are losing our shirts." Sinegal's response was not a polite boardroom negotiation. It was an ultimatum. He looked at Jelinek and reportedly said, "If you raise the effing hot dog, I will kill you. Figure it out." This wasn't just an eccentric CEO throwing a tantrum. It was a calculated defense of the brand's core integrity. Sinegal understood that the $1.50 hot dog is a loss leader, but more importantly, it is a psychological anchor. It is the last thing a customer experiences before they leave the warehouse. After dropping $300 on bulk goods, the customer is rewarded with an impossibly cheap meal. It leaves a lingering subconscious impression of absolute value. To figure it out, Costco didn't raise the price. Instead, they vertically integrated. They built their own massive hot dog manufacturing plants in California and Chicago, taking total control of the supply chain to strip out middleman costs. They refused to break the promise. This is what most people fundamentally misunderstand about Costco. The hot dog isn't about lunch. It is a blood pact with the consumer. It proves that the company is willing to absorb millions of dollars in losses to defend its reputation. In a world where airlines nickel and dime you for leg room and streaming services constantly hike their subscription fees, the unyielding $1.50 hot dog signals an unshakable, terrifying level of corporate stability. It tells the consumer, "We will protect you from inflation, even if it costs us millions." Chapter 5. The Stealth Empire of Kirkland Signature. While the hot dog is the emotional anchor, the true financial juggernaut of the Costco empire hides in plain sight. Walk down any aisle and you will see it printed in bold red and white letters, Kirkland Signature. To understand the sheer scale of this private label, you have to look at the numbers. In the 2023 to 2024 financial year, Kirkland Signature generated an estimated $86 billion in revenue. Let that sink in. A single generic store brand generated more revenue than Nike. It made billions more than Procter Gamble. If Kirkland Signature were spun off into its own independent company, it would be one of the largest consumer goods corporations on the planet. The creation of Kirkland Signature in 1995 was a masterclass in leverage. Before Kirkland, Costco had dozens of different private labels that confused consumers. They consolidated them all under one name, named after the city of Kirkland, Washington, where their corporate headquarters was located at the time. But the true genius of Kirkland Signature is how Costco uses it as a weapon against the biggest brands in the world. Costco's strategy is simple. They approach a premium, globally recognized brand, let's say a major coffee roaster or a premium vodka distiller, and they offer them a deal. Manufacture this product for us, to our exact specifications, and we will put the Kirkland Signature label on it. We will give you massive volume, but we will sell it for 20% less than your branded version. If the brand refuses, Costco executes the power move. They simply reverse engineer the product, find a competing manufacturer, and create a Kirkland version that is equal to or better than the original, and sell it at a massive discount. They place it directly next to the premium brand on the pallet. The consumer, who already blindly trusts the Kirkland name, switches over. The premium brand loses massive market share. This is the ultimate corporate extortion, completely legally executed. Major brands like Duracell, Starbucks, and Bumblebee Tuna have all quietly manufactured products for Kirkland Signature because they know that if they don't, Costco will destroy them in the aisles. It is a stealth empire that gives Costco absolute pricing power over the global supply chain, stripping leverage away from multinational conglomerates and putting it directly into the hands of the Costco executive suite. Chapter 6. The Platinum Handcuffs. A massive retail empire cannot function without a vast army of labor. But while companies like Amazon face constant unionization battles and grueling turnover, Costco operates in a state of unprecedented industrial peace. In the American retail sector, the average employee turnover rate hovers at a staggering 60%. It is a revolving door of minimum wage workers who leave the moment a better opportunity arises. At Costco, the retention rate after 1 year of employment is a phenomenal 94%. The overall turnover rate sits at a shockingly low 6 to 7%. How did the Sinegal legacy achieve this? They deployed what can only be described as platinum handcuffs. Costco pays significantly above the minimum wage. They offer comprehensive health insurance, even to part-time workers. They provide 401k matching and generous vacation time. To the untrained eye, this looks like corporate charity, but it is actually a strategy of ruthless, calculated efficiency. Employee turnover is incredibly expensive. Recruiting, interviewing, onboarding, and training new staff costs billions of dollars across the retail industry. Furthermore, a constantly rotating staff leads to operational errors, poor customer service, and massive internal theft, known in the industry as shrinkage. By paying top dollar, Costco completely eliminates these hidden costs. Their employees stay for decades. They know where every pallet goes. They operate the heavy machinery with precision. And most importantly, because they are paid well and treated with respect, employee theft is virtually non-existent. Costco's shrinkage rate is a fraction of the industry average. This is the brilliant paradox of the Costco labor model. By spending more on wages, they actually lower their overall operating costs. They created a fiercely loyal workforce that acts as a private army, protecting the inventory and accelerating the checkout lines. Activist investors used to scream that Costco was giving away the farm, but Sinegal knew that an experienced, well-paid worker is the most lethal operational advantage in retail. The platinum handcuffs ensure that Costco never has to fight a war on two fronts. While competitors are battling their own disgruntled employees, Costco is entirely focused on dominating the market. Chapter 7. The Private Equity Repellent. In modern American capitalism, no company is safe. Private equity firms and activist hedge funds constantly circle massive corporations, looking for any sign of weakness. If a company has a lot of cash, private equity tries to execute a leveraged buyout, saddle the company with debt, strip it for parts, and leave it bankrupt. We saw it with Toys R Us. We saw it with Sears. So why hasn't anyone tried to take over Costco? Because the Sinegal and Brotman families, along with their hand-picked successors, built a balance sheet that acts as absolute private equity repellent. Costco is a cash-generating leviathan. They don't just hold on to their money. They weaponize their dividends to keep shareholders absolutely pacified. In January 2024, Costco authorized a special cash dividend of $15 per share, totaling an unbelievable $6.65 billion paid directly to their investors in a single massive payout. When you randomly drop $6 billion into the laps of your shareholders, you buy absolute, unquestioning loyalty. No activist investor can convince a board to overthrow the management when the management is routinely authorizing multi-billion-dollar cash drops. But the structural defense goes deeper. Costco promotes almost exclusively from within. When Jim Sinegal stepped down, he didn't hand the reins to an outsider from a rival firm. He handed them to Craig Jelinek, a man who had been with the company since 1984, working his way up from the warehouse floor. When Jelinek recently retired, the baton was passed to Ron Vakris, another veteran who actually started his career as a forklift driver for the company 40 years ago. This internal succession plan is the ultimate power move. It ensures that the DNA of the company remains completely pure. No hotshot Ivy League CEO can come in and try to optimize the business by raising the price of the hot dog or cutting employee benefits. The fortress is guarded by the people who built it. They have effectively insulated the entire empire from the toxic, short-term thinking that plagues modern corporate America. Chapter 8. The Global Conquest. The final testament to the sheer power of the Costco empire is its undeniable, terrifying global reach. For a long time, critics argued that the warehouse club model was a uniquely American phenomenon. They said that buying 50 rolls of toilet paper and a gallon of mayonnaise only appealed to suburban Americans with massive garages and SUVs. They were completely wrong. Costco took the Sinegal blueprint and quietly exported it to the world. They opened in Japan, they opened in the United Kingdom, they expanded across Korea, Australia, and Europe. In every single market, the results were identical. Long lines, massive membership renewals, and total market disruption. But the true flex of their global dominance occurred in 2019, when Costco opened its first warehouse in Shanghai, China. The Chinese retail market is notoriously difficult for Western companies to crack. Amazon failed there. Carrefour failed there. When Costco opened its doors in Shanghai, the demand was so manic and the crowds were so massive that the local government had to force the store to shut down on its very first day due to safety concerns. There were riots over discounted Hermes bags and bulk groceries. This global expansion proves that the Costco model transcends culture. The psychology of the membership card, the treasure hunt of the constantly rotating inventory, and the absolute guarantee of value are universal human desires. Today, as the company nears a $500 billion market capitalization, the legacy of Sinegal and Jeffrey Brotman stands as a monolithic anomaly in the business world. They didn't invent retail, but they perfected the psychology of commerce. They built a system where the customer pays for the privilege of shopping, the employees defend the fortress, and the suppliers are forced to strip away their own profits just to get onto the pallets. They prove that the most ruthless way to conquer the world isn't by squeezing every penny from the consumer. It is by building an ecosystem so efficient, so fair, and so highly insulated that the rest of the market simply cannot compete. From the unwavering blood pact of the $1.50 hot dog to a stealth private label that quietly eclipses global megabrands, Costco proves that true power isn't about appeasing Wall Street. It's about ignoring it entirely. The Sinegal legacy created a fortress where loyalty is bought with wages, and profits are guaranteed before a single item is sold. Which of these unwritten Costco rules surprised you the most? Let us know in the comments. If you want to understand the hidden forces shaping the global economy, hit that like button and subscribe to Global Status. We'll see you in the next one.